This is TWiT.
How about this great article by Steve Yegge? Did you read this? I love this article. Steve is a now retired former Google engineer. He's obviously made enough money now that he doesn't have to actually work. In fact, if you look at his bio, Steve Yegge is ex-GeoWorks, ex-Amazon, ex-Google, and ex-Grab with nearly 30 years of tech experience. Nowadays, he's pretty much retired. In other words, his stock vested. But when he was at Google, by the way, I love his lead. God dang it, I don't want to blog again. I have so much stuff to do. Blogging takes time and energy and creativity I could be putting to good use. My novels, my music, my game, and so on. But you get me riled enough and I have to blog. So let's get this over with then. The headline, Dear Google Cloud, your deprecation policy is killing you. I don't even know why he added the cloud part, but I guess it's because this post is really about what's going on in the cloud.
SEO, baby.
Yeah. But, yeah, SEO maybe. But really, you could say this is true about Google in general. And it's an interesting lesson for people like us who follow the tech industry. You know, one of the knocks that Microsoft always got was, you know, they never let a technology die, that they're always adding code to Windows so that everything that ever worked on Windows will continue to work on Windows. Steve says it's exactly the opposite at Google. In fact, it's almost like they honor engineering teams that kill legacy old code.
That's part of the lore of product. That it's as good to kill things as it is to make things.
Yeah.
Yes.
He says, but the problem with that is your customers pretty soon learn that don't depend on Google. And again, he's talking about the cloud, but I think this applies to all of Google. Google engineers, he says, pride themselves on their software engineering discipline. And that's actually what gets them into trouble. Pride is a trap for the unwary. And it has ensnared many a Google team into thinking their decisions are always right, and that correctness is more important than customer focus. Customer focus gives you legacy. Correctness gives you only the stuff that's new, modern, and good. Yeah, and that makes sense. I can see an engineer.
That is interesting. That's a good hot take.
But he says backwards compatibility keeps systems alive and relevant for decades. One of the best lines in this. The first system I'll pick as an example of this is the oldest, Emacs, which he says, and this is the greatest line ever, sort of a hybrid between Windows Notepad, a monolithic kernel operating system, and the International Space Station. It's in a nutshell, Emacs is a platform written in 1976 for writing software to make you more productive, masquerading as a text editor. But he says he writes a lot of extensions, as many people do, for Emacs. But more importantly, no extension he's ever written since 1976 doesn't work. I'm still using software I wrote for Emacs back in 1995. I'm sure there's still people using software they wrote from Emacs from the mid-'80s. Every once in a while, it might require a minor tweak. It's really rare. And actually, I'll add to that. That's one of the reasons I love the Lisp programming language, a program you wrote for Lisp in the 70s would still run today. It just would. Whereas in the Google world, deprecation means we're breaking our commitments to you. It really does. That's what it ultimately means. It means they're going to force you to do some work, possibly a large amount of rework, on a regular basis as a punishment for doing what they told you to do originally, as a punishment for listening to their glossy marketing on their website. Better software, faster. You do everything they tell you to do, and you launch your application or service, and then bang, a year or two later, it breaks.
This is Google across the board. Like Jeff and I will both tell you that being a paying Google G Suites customer is like punishment. No one should do it.
Yep.
And yeah, they just
don't
care about the user. That's really the end of, anyway.
Yegge says this is hurting them far more than they realize, and it will continue to hurt them for years to come because it's not part of their DNA to care about customers.
No, it's all data.
See?
But could this be considered Google trying to force the users to, air quotes, evolve?
Yeah, but as well, and the reason it hurts them on cloud more than anywhere else is because the customers are developers who develop for Google Compute Cloud and other.
Yeah, I think I cut a different. There's a difference between the constituency of developers and the constituency of searchers. I think Google does care deeply about customers when they're non-tech people trying to use its services.
Okay,
but people
that's
who have to integrate with Google on a technical level, Google says, do it our way because we're smarter than you are.
And there are parts of Google that do care. For instance, he uses as an example Android. He says Android folks take backwards compatibility to almost unimaginable extremes.
True.
Which piles on massive amounts of legacy technical debt in their systems and tool chains. Oh boy, you should see some of the crazy stuff they have to do in their build system, all in the name of compatibility. For this, I award Android the coveted "You're Not Google" award. You really don't want to be Google.
I wish I could be retired like that. That'd be nice.
I know. Be cranky.
Just, screw you all. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm rich, I tell you.
He brought up one thing that
I'm sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Do you not say
Jeff's
what you
already
want to say?
that way. I know. That's what.
Stacey, you just wait.
He's going to get worse when he doesn't care.
Oh yeah. When I'm that grumpy old man, oh, you just wait.
I can't wait.
As an example, he brings up an example that's a pet peeve of mine. Instant apps. Remember that?
Yep.
Yes.
Instant apps was a pretty dumb idea, though. You know why? Because it required you to rewrite and re-architect your application, as if people are just going to up and rewrite 2 million apps. I'm guessing Instant Apps wasn't an Android idea. It was a Googler's idea. And, of course, Android apps, Instant Apps is gone. So if you did all that work, sorry.
So sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, no payoff for it.
Sorry. Google's pride in their software engineering hygiene is what gets them into trouble. They don't like it when there are lots of different ways to do the same thing with older, less desirable ways sitting alongside newer, fancier ways. So they just kill it. I think this is really a well-written piece. It's on Medium. Steve, I hope I'm probably saying his name wrong. Yeggge.